Nicholas McLaughlin, here representing himself to speak against the bill.
Yes, my name is Nicholas McLaughlin. I'm speaking against the bill. I'm a native Texan who has studied human sexuality and cultural anthropology in Houston, Texas. You've heard the passionate testimonies of many women tonight that have been personally affected by the availability of abortion in Texas. As someone who is passionate about individual rights and science, I'm astounded that this bill is even being considered. Clearly, there are public servants here that believe they can circumvent U.S. law by restricting access to perfectly lawful health care in such a manner as to make it practically inaccessible. By limiting the time a woman has to choose, you are effectively limiting her ability to make an informed choice. I don't believe Texas legislators want to do that. This bill is not based on sound medical advice or science. This is a blatant attempt to erode the rights given by the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade. This bill is not based on fiscal conservatism, as we discovered back in 2011 when we defunded Planned Parenthood $75 million. You cut your health care bills in the state, and you end up costing the state more money. Not to mention the traumatic toll it often takes on our citizens. I urge you to use reason and realize that this is not the way to reduce abortions. This bill, and those like it, will only serve to torment our citizens and our budget. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Graves, here to testify against HB 16, and thank you for hearing us all this day and night. And I grew up in Westlake, which you might know means that I have wealthy parents. And at the age of 18, I was in a relationship which it took me a while to figure out was abusive. And my parents, of course, saw this, and you know, being the defiant teenager I was, I didn't listen until it got pretty late in the game. And though I used contraception with that man, I still ended up pregnant. And because I thought, all right, I'm going to college, I can't go that way and bring this life to term. So I was well within the time that you guys would be allowing at 20 weeks, but I was paying attention, and I was lucky to have a regular menstrual cycle, so it was easy for me to figure out that something was different and to go and get a pregnancy test. And I had a decently paying job and parents with plenty of money, even if I hadn't, and so I wouldn't have had to have delayed the time to get there and get out of that situation.
Jessica, can you wrap up, please?
And I shudder to think of what putting the restriction of 20 weeks would do to someone who wasn't as fortunate as I was to be able to get myself out of what would have been a really horrible lifelong attachment to an abusive partner. And so I wanted to convey to you my fear for so many women if that should continue, so thank you.
All right, that's going to conclude our testimony tonight. We do appreciate everybody that's been here, and at this time we're going to call on the bill author to close on our bill.
We were told that we would get to go. You told us that if we were registered, we would get to go, and we are registered. We registered at 1 p.m. We were registered, and that's what we were just told about 5 minutes ago.
Okay. What we're going to do is just take the last two. So y'all decide among yourselves who that is, because actually I've gone an hour longer than we said we would, and everybody here knows that. I said I would take the line. Now the line is come and gone. Now, if the last two, if y'all want to figure out who that is, I think it's the first two's up, and that's fine. And if you don't want to, I have Jennifer McCombs and I have Rebecca Fugate.
I'm sorry.
Are you Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, Jennifer, if you want to come up.
Yes.
Jennifer McCombs. And I have you testifying on your own behalf and against the bill.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Jarl McCombs. I'm a fifth-generation Austinite and sixth-generation Texan. I'm here against HB 16. I'm a constituent of Representative Eddie Rodriguez. Thank you for having me. I had prepared my remarks for HB 60, but was not allowed to speak because we got cut off. But I am going to speak about my pregnancy and my birth as it relates to this bill. I had a planned pregnancy with my husband, and at around 6 weeks, 7 weeks, I started feeling sick. I thought it was just your typical nausea, morning sickness. It wasn't. I was sick at a baseline. I was nauseous 24/7, and then it would spike to vomiting just throughout the day on a will of its own. I ended up having hyperemesis gravidarum, which I believe is a little more famous now because Kate Middleton had it. I dealt with that for over 5 months of my pregnancy. I could not leave I was in a recliner in a room, in our TV room, because I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sit. I really couldn't sit up. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't put one foot in front of another, let alone work. I could go to the bath. I could go back and forth to the bathroom from that room. I think it's important to talk about what pregnancy can do to your body. I had my family here to take care of me. I was very lucky. I had the privilege of having them. And I had a huge support system being from Austin. And I think that's what kept me out of the hospital. You're hospitalized a lot of times with this diagnosis, because you throw up so much and you don't have sustenance in your body. Anyway, if I didn't have a safety net after safety net after safety net after safety net, had I been raped, had I had an unwanted pregnancy, even just a little bit, had I had mental illness, had I had a chronic disease, and I could not, I don't know if I could have stayed through it. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I wouldn't have. But it's not anyone else's decision but myself and my family and my doctor. Fast forward to almost 9 months, I ended up in the hospital with preeclampsia. And the only cure for preeclampsia is delivery. Fortunately for me, she was only 2 days to her due date, so she was fine and to term. But I fought for my life and her life during the delivery. I almost stroked out multiple times. I was hospitalized 10 days. Afterward, I was on bed rest for 6 weeks. It does a lot to your body, and nobody can know about anybody else's pregnancies or what they go through. And forcing birth on a woman is not right to do by the state. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. And now we're going to take our last witness, Rebecca Fugate. Okay, representing herself, testifying against the bill.
Hello, good morning or evening, however that looks to you right now. My name is Rebecca Fugate. I'm a constituent of Elliott Neistat, and I am testifying against the bill.
And for the record, please state your name.
Rebecca Fugate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm an advocate for survivors of domestic violence, a birth doula, and a former medical assistant at 2 abortion clinics. I've held hands, wiped tears, and shared laughter during abortions and during labor. I'm sorry if my story is repetitive. I'm sorry if it doesn't offer anything compelling or original that you haven't heard, but that's the point. We're here because this is repetitive. We've been here before. We don't want to be here before, but we have to be. so forgive me. No matter what the circumstances of the births and abortion, whether they're joyful or sorrowful, my patients and clients are human beings who made informed choices about their pregnancy outcomes. Many people I've encountered at some point in their lives have or will experience both childbirth and abortion. This bill is not based on scientific evidence. This is frightening, and it's not fooling me. This is thinly veiled to be about setting the standard for care for women higher. That's not what this is about. Abortion is safer than childbirth. Clinics in Texas must comply with strict regulations already, and they perform safe abortions daily. Patients endure endless obstacles, waiting periods, viewing graphic materials that's mandated by the state. And when a woman steps into a clinic, she's thought long and hard about her decision, no matter how far along she is. No, this bill isn't about safety, pain, whatever anyone wants to call it. It's about power and control. In my line of work as a domestic violence advocate, we call that abuse. That is the definition of abuse. I'd like you all to think about what the phrase raising the standard of care means to you. Does it mean filling up shelters until families are forced to sleep on the streets? Does it mean taxpayer dollars going towards unintended Medicaid births? Does it mean women losing their jobs because they had to take 3 days off of work to have a medication abortion? Does it mean people dying because they're so desperate for this abortion that is not accessible to them? Because many of these things are already happening. Things will only get worse if this bill and similar bills pass. Abortions will continue to happen regardless of your decision, and I urge you tonight to think about women who can make those choices for themselves. Thank you very much.
Your testimony, the other witnesses are registered as either for or against. At this time, we're going to close the testimony and call on Representative Laubenberg to close on her bill.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Representative Laubenberg.
Mr. Chairman, I close.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, it's the chair's intent to leave, to withdraw the committee substitute to House Bill 16. At this time, it's the chair's intent to leave House Bill 16 pending. There being no other business for the Committee on State Affairs, stands adjourned, subject to call the chair.